A U.S. serviceman comes forward about the UFO incident at Rendlesham Forest. A U.S. veteran who was stationed at RAF Bentwaters has spoken out about the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident. Sometimes referred to as Britain's Roswell, the events that took place at a U.S. air base in late December of 1980 continue to remain one of the 20th century's most enduring mysteries. The strangeness began December 26 when U.S. servicemen stationed at RAF Woodbridge witnessed an unknown object descending into the woods. Upon investigating, they encountered a glowing metallic object which seemed to be moving through the trees as they approached. When they returned the next day, they found 3 triangular impressions in the ground at the same spot. On December 28th, 2 days later, the object reappeared a second time, prompting Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt and a group of servicemen to venture out into the woods to investigate. What they saw that night would go on to haunt them for the rest of their lives. Now Michael Smith, who was part of the 81st Airborne Police Squadron at RAF Bentwaters at the time of the incident, has come forward to talk about his own experience. He said, "A month before the base was put on alert, I was called out and I got onto a bunker by one of the gates." He said, "I was having a pee outside when I saw the orange glowing light in the woods. It was a reddish ball. It stopped right in front of me. It just stayed there and hovered 2 feet off the ground, and I called for reinforcements. I was scared to death," he said. Could this have been the same object that Holt and his men encountered a few weeks later? And the search for answers continues. This is by Unexplained Mysteries on Bended Reality. The U.S. airman who saw UFO and aliens at Rendlesham Air Base passes lie detector. A key witness in the mysterious Rendlesham UFO case has reportedly sailed through a lie detector after insisting he saw alien beings floating beneath a triangular craft during the bizarre encounter. Larry Warren, 56 years old, who was stationed with the U.S. Air Force USAF at RAF Bentwaters near Rendlesham Forest in Suffolk, in the UK, is said to have undergone the polygraph test after being shunned by many in the UFO community earlier, amid claims much of his testimony in a book about the events was discredited. Mr. Warren was at the heart of a bitter storm after his co-author Peter Robbins, who helped him write the 1997 book, left at East Gate a first-hand account of the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident. Its cover-up and investigation said he no longer had any faith in his account due to new details, quote-unquote, which came to light. Publisher Cosimo, which reprinted the book originally published by Marlowe and Company, then pulled the book from sale, saying it could not be certain it met its standards. In a statement it said, "Consequently, we have decided to suspend the distribution of this book until the situation surrounding it has been clarified to our satisfaction." However, Mr. Warren was backed throughout the row by Gary Heseltine, editor of UFO Truth magazine and a former police detective. Mr. Heseltine announced the news to readers of his magazine, saying Mr. Warren, quote, "passed every question and now hopes the world will believe his account," end quote. He said the results had finally vindicated Larry. Mr. Heseltine said Larry Warren, the original military whistleblower of Britain's most famous and unsolved cold case, Rendlesham Forest, recently agreed to undertake a professional polygraph test with one of the UK's leading experts. He undertook the test where he was questioned about his involvement, along with many other questions about his general honesty and integrity. "I can now reveal that Larry Warren has successfully passed the test on all counts. Details of who carried out the test have not been released. The Rendlesham legend, which centers around neighboring bases RAF Woodbridge and RAF Bentwaters near Mildenhall, Suffolk, has been dubbed Britain's Roswell in a nod to the mystery of the UFO crash to have taken place outside the town of New Mexico in July 1947. The UK suspected alien event saw 3 U.S. officers based at RAF Bentwaters claim a triangular-shaped craft landed in neighboring woods in the early hours of December 26, 1980. The men first noticed lights and then UFO on the floor of the forest and could not account for a 40-minute period while searching in the woods when their communication systems went off air, quote unquote. The three were John Burroughs, Bud Steffens, and James Peniston, later told of feeling static as they observed the object's flashing lights and hieroglyphic-like markings. Former Colonel Charles Halt, 77 years old, the most senior witness, who was base deputy commander at the time, was not present during the first encounter, but was told the next morning, and he investigated that night after officers shouted, "It's back, the UFO's back." He went to investigate with a team who found 3 1.5-inch impact holes, damage to the canopies of the trees, and higher radiation levels in the landing area. He said they then saw a mysterious object in a field between the woods and a farmhouse with a red light moving. Mr. Warren's account is that on December 28, he was on guard duty when he was taken by truck to join other U.S. Air Force personnel to investigate the UFO. It's then that he claimed to see a landing triangular craft and small alien beings nearby before he and other men were ordered to cover up the incident. This is by John Austin, Express UK, Unbended Reality. But yet another eyewitness to the Rendlesham UFO mystery comes forward. The key witness in the UK most baffling mass UFO sighting. The case, later investigated by UK Minister of Defence, concluded there was no evidence of alien visitations or any national security risk, and the sightings were most likely the result of beams of light from a nearby coastal lighthouse, they said. But Steve Longero, a former U.S. Air Force military police officer based at the airbase at the time, remained tight-lipped about what he saw in Rendlesham Forest ever since. Now, in a magazine interview, he has revealed he believes what he saw came from outer space and could have been aliens. He said, "I think it was something not from this world." Mr. Longero was guarding the weapons storage area when the alarm started going off. He said, "While on duty that night, we had a very sophisticated alarm system and everything just went off. And when I could see these lights over the treetops, and I was thinking, what's going on? Then they started sending people out there, and at first it was hard to believe all these bright lights. It was hard to take in. When Mr. Lugero went into the forest, it was swamped with other military personnel. He described seeing UFOs like fluorescent colored lights, like red and green glowing lights, and that's what they looked like," he said. He told Outer Limits magazine, "I could see them hovering over the treetops like an eye that almost was following everybody." Mr. Longero says at a debriefing afterwards, the witnesses were sworn to secrecy, quote, "as the base had nuclear weapons on site," end quote. Colonel Charles Halt, 76, who was based deputy commander at the time and features in a newly published book about the case, Halt claimed the officers who first saw the lights, then a UFO on the floor of the forest, could not account for a 40-minute period while searching in the woods when their communication systems went off air. As we said, the 3 officers, John Burroughs, Bud Steffens, and James Peniston, told Ministry of Defence of feeling static as they observed the object's flashing light and hieroglyphic-like markings. Halt said then that on the evening of December 27, 1980, that officers had shouted, "It's back, the UFO's back." Halt went to investigate with a team who found 3 1.5-inch impact holes, damage to the canopy of the trees, and higher radiation levels in the landing area. A plaster cast was later taken of one of the holes, but mysteriously disappeared from a box it was stored in. Mr. Halt said soon after they saw a mysterious object in a field between the woods and a farmhouse with a red light moving. He said it came towards us into the forest, moving, bobbing up and down in the trees. It was oval, about 100 to 150 yards away, with a dark center and red around it. He claimed that there were sparks coming from it, and after, in a minute, exploded and disappeared. They then spotted objects in the sky 3,000 to 4,000 feet up. In May, a documentary revealed the testimonies of 2 former military technicians who claimed a UFO was caught on radar and seen from Control Tower RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodbridge, as well as in Rendlesham Forest near Woodbridge in Suffolk in the time of these sightings. UFOs and Nukes, the secret link revealed, available on Vimeo. So this is what usually, we've had other sightings of UFOs over nuclear facilities as well. This again is from John Austin Express UK on Bended Reality. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.